Welcome back to the deep dive where we, really like to roll up our sleeves and get in the nitty-gritty of things. Today, we're talking about something that might sound kind of obscure at first, Lactobacillus reuteri. But stick with us because this little bacterium could have a huge impact on, well, pretty much every aspect of your health.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right, where the more you learn about it, the more you realize just how much is going on beneath the surface. We're going to be looking at a text titled Document Sense TTOL 15.txt and some really interesting comments from folks who have personal experience with this bacteria.
Right, so first thing first, what is Lactobacillus reuteri? It's not just some trendy new probiotic. It's actually been living in and on humans for a really, really long time. Like we're talking guts, skin, even passed down through breast milk.
And that's what makes this whole thing even more interesting, because you'd think if it's been with us for so long, it must be pretty important, right? Well, there's a lot of evidence that suggests that Lactobacillus reuteri levels have been dropping dramatically in modern populations.
Okay, so what's causing this decline?
Well, the document points to a few culprits, like widespread antibiotic use is definitely a factor. And while antibiotics are obviously life-saving in many situations, they can also have unintended consequences for our microbial ecosystems. Then you got things like the typical modern diet, low in fiber, which doesn't exactly feed the beneficial bacteria in our gut. Oh, and exposure to, various chemicals in the environment and just general lifestyle changes. The document even cites a figure that over 95% of people might be missing this bacteria.
Wow, 95%. That's a lot. What kind of implications does that have for our health?
Right. So the document suggests a possible connection between this decline and the rise in all sorts of chronic diseases. We're talking inflammatory conditions, metabolic issues, even neurological disorders.
That's kind of scary. So if we're losing this bacterium, what are we losing exactly? What role does Lactobacillus reuteri actually play in our bodies?
Well, the document calls it a guardian of the intestine and immune system, and that's because it can produce these natural antibiotic-like substances like Reuteri. Reuteri is pretty amazing. It can help eliminate harmful bacteria in the gut, including one you might have heard of, Helicobacter pylori.
Helicobacter pylori. Isn't that the one linked to stomach ulcers?
Exactly. So you can see how having less of this good bacteria could leave us more vulnerable to these kinds of issues.
Absolutely. And the document also mentions preventing digestive infections like SIBO. That's something that a lot of people struggle with.
Right. SIBO, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, basically means there's too much bacteria hanging out where it shouldn't be in the small intestine. And that can lead to all sorts of digestive problems. Lactobacillus reuteri helps keep things balanced down there.
So it's not just about fighting off the bad guys. It's also about maintaining a healthy ecosystem to the gut. And that has implications for the immune system, right?
Oh, absolutely. The document talks about how it stimulates the production of T lymphocytes, which are like the special forces of the immune system. They target and eliminate infected cells and invaders. So having more of them means a stronger, more targeted immune response.
Okay, so we've got gut health, immune function, but wait, there's more. The text also mentions stress regulation. It's like, how does a gut bacterium even affect our stress levels?
Well, that's where the gut-brain axis comes in. Basically, our gut and our brain are in constant communication with each other, and certain bacteria, like Lactobacillus reuteri, can influence the production of neurotransmitters, like oxytocin, that have a direct impact on our mood and how we handle stress.
Wow. So this little bacteria could actually help us feel more calm and relaxed.
That's what the research suggests. And that's not all. The document also highlights its role in supporting hormone production, specifically testosterone and growth hormone.
Okay, so that's huge, especially as we age. Testosterone and growth hormone are essential for maintaining muscle mass, bone density, and overall vitality.
Exactly. And then there's the heart health benefits. The text talks about reducing LDL cholesterol, especially for those with high levels, and reducing inflammation, which, as we know, is a major factor in heart disease.
So it's like, is there anything this bacteria doesn't do?
Right, and it even goes beyond that. There's evidence that it might improve sleep quality and mood, potentially by boosting serotonin and dopamine levels.
That's incredible. So this isn't just about physical health, it's about mental and emotional well-being too.
Exactly, and, it's all interconnected.
So the big question is, if our levels of this bacteria are so low, what can we do about it?
Well, the text actually provides a pretty simple method for increasing Lactobacillus reuteri in our diet. Fermenting milk with a specific strain of the bacteria for 36 hours at 37 degrees Celsius. Apparently, this significantly boosts its concentration in the yogurt.
36 hours at 37 degrees, is there a reason for those specific numbers?
Yeah, it's all about creating the ideal conditions for this specific strain to flourish. It lets the good bacteria outcompete any other microbes that might be present in the milk and really thrive during the fermentation process.
That's good to know. And it seems like research is continually uncovering more benefits of this bacteria, especially for immunity, gut health, cardiovascular health, you name it.
Totally. It's like we're just scratching the surface of understanding how important this bacterium is for our overall health and well-being. And one important concept the document mentions is training the microbiota.
Training, what does that mean?
So it's not about a quick fix, it's about consistently nurturing a healthy microbial environment in our gut. It's like tending a garden. You need to provide the right conditions and nutrients for the beneficial bacteria to flourish.
Makes sense. It's about creating a sustainable ecosystem. So let's bring this to life a little. We have some comments from actual people who are experimenting with Lactobacillus reuteri.
Right, let's see. We have a comment from Manuel de la Parra, who's 78 years old. He says he's noticed good improvements since he started taking it, but nothing spectacular.
So it sounds like it's not some magic bullet that instantly changes everything.
Exactly. It often takes time for the body to adjust and for those subtle changes to accumulate. It could be that Manuel's digestion is improving, or his inflammation is decreasing, or maybe his immune system is getting a boost. It's a gradual process.
And the document mentions that everyone responds differently. Some people might notice changes in their sleep or digestion pretty quickly, while others might see effects on their energy levels or overall health over a longer period.
Right. It's all about paying attention to your own body and being patient. And the document also emphasizes using the right strains and maybe adding some fermentable fiber to your diet to help the bacteria thrive. Things like psyllium husk or vegetables like asparagus, broccoli, kale.
Okay, that's good advice. What about this comment from Canales Rojas? They're on their second cycle of taking Lactobacillus reuteri, specifically for anti-aging purposes.
Interesting. Well, it makes sense when you think about it. Reducing inflammation and boosting oxytocin levels are key factors in healthy aging. And remember, oxytocin isn't just about feeling good. It also helps with things like metabolic health, bone density, and sleep quality.
Right, all those things decline as we get older, so it's like you're trying to support those systems from the inside out.
Exactly. Now, Canales Rojas also mentioned taking Saccharomyces boulardii, and the document makes a point of saying that this isn't a bacterium, it's actually a yeast.
Oh, right. So what's the difference, and why would someone take both?
Well, bacteria and yeast are completely different types of microorganisms, even though both can be beneficial for our gut. Saccharomyces boulardii is a probiotic yeast that's really good at restoring balance in the gut, fighting off infections, and strengthening the intestinal barrier.
So it's kind of like a first line of defense in the gut.
Yeah, you could think of it that way. And it's especially helpful during or after a course of antibiotics because being a yeast, it's not affected by them. So while the antibiotics are wiping out a lot of the bacteria in the gut, both good and bad, Saccharomyces boulardii can kind of hold down the fort.
That's really interesting. So you could have this 1-2 punch where Lactobacillus reuteri is working more systemically, boosting immunity, and maybe even contributing to cellular longevity, while Saccharomyces boulardii is protecting and strengthening the gut lining.
Right. They work together to create a more resilient and balanced gut ecosystem.
So it's not just about adding one thing, it's about understanding the whole ecosystem and how these different players interact.
Exactly. And it's amazing to see people taking charge of their health and really digging into the science to figure out what works best for them.
It's empowering. So to wrap things up, we've covered a lot of ground today. We talked about the history of Lactobacillus reuteri, its potential decline in modern times, and the vast range of benefits it offers for everything from gut health and immunity to stress management, hormone balance, heart health, and even sleep and mood.
And we discussed some practical ways to potentially restore its levels, emphasizing that it's a process that requires patience and consistency. It's about making those small, sustainable changes that support a healthy microbiome over the long term.
And we even heard from some real people who are incorporating this knowledge into their own lives, showing us that these aren't just abstract concepts, they have real-world applications.
Absolutely. And as a final thought, we'd like you to consider this. If something as seemingly small as a single bacterium can have such a profound impact on our health, what other seemingly insignificant aspects of our lifestyle might be playing a much bigger role than we realize?
That's a great question to ponder. It really opens up a whole new way of thinking about our health and well-being. So thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring and keep learning.
Absolutely. There's a whole world waiting to be discovered right within us.
We'll see you in the next deep dive.
Take care.